Hey guys, it's Christina and it's the middle of August, which means it's time for a garden update. We live in New Brunswick and this is in zone 5A and this is my garden behind me, so let's go have a look at it. Here's just a quick overview from what it looks like up here. You can kind of get a better idea of what the layout looks like. Let's start with these garden beds here. So this one here had garlic in it. It was my first time growing garlic and unfortunately we got leek moths. So I had to pull the garlic a little early. It's not too small, but it is a little bit disappointing, so I'm gonna have to probably find a way to cover it next year. But in the meantime, this bed was empty. So I went ahead and I planted some of these yellow squash. I had planned to do 6. But I must have dropped a seed because there's 7. And then this is arugula in between all the way along. And these are radishes on both sides. I just wanted something that was going to be quick to grow, that would give some nutrients back to the soil and try to use up that empty space. The next bed here we have strawberries. I'm just leaving them be. They are done for the year. This is really interesting. I have had the hardest time growing onions, and these were ones, if you recall, I just kind of tossed in here. They were extra ones. They are growing so much better than the ones I actually planted, and I've discovered I think I plant them too deep. These ones were just on top, and I think that's why they're doing so much better, because they have space to grow. So I'm going to have to keep that in mind for next year. Rhubarb is looking pretty sad. I'm not sure what happened. A whole bunch of leaves died. And then the garlic chives, and the green onions are all doing really well over there. We do have a few cucumber plants along here. The cucumber beetles recently came back and they have been killing so many plants. So these I will never plant on the fence again. They just don't seem to do well over here. But especially since the cucumber beetles came back. Likewise, there's a few cucumber plants over here, and I mean, you can hardly see them. They just have not really done well. The flowers have taken over. There's like a little cucumber there, but they're just not doing well. Meanwhile, these cosmos are a good foot taller than me, and this sunflower, I would say it's getting close, if not already at 8 feet. It's so tall. Look at that. The tomatoes in the greenhouse have done so incredibly well. So well, in fact. As you can see, some of them are taller than the support stands that I have tied here. I had done a bunch in a previous video of tying them up with this kind of almost like t-shirt material, so it had a stretch to it, but I ran out of it. And by the time I found some other string to use, they kind of had gone wild and been neglected for a while. So the tomatoes in here are a little crazy and chaotic, but they are starting to turn red. And we are starting to get our first tomatoes. We just ate the first ones this week, which was lovely. Candlelight peppers. For some reason I lost a plant here. I don't know why. But the rest are doing well. As they get redder, they get spicier. But there's so many candlelight peppers. This is all basil back here, which has started from seed, and it's doing well. You can see more like spicy ones. Yeah, this group of tomatoes was really wild. So I discovered something was eating our jalapenos. Oh, I just saw a beetle. And I don't know what. I'm not sure what would eat our jalapenos. So I've been pulling them pretty early. Well, they're still quite small. It's over here. You can see something was eating the plant and they ate a bunch of these. But I'm going to try again leaving it for a few days and see if they come back and gnaw on them. Now over here, more crazy tomatoes, but then underneath here we've got basil, as well as we've got some cantaloupes growing. Unfortunately, the cucumber beetles are going crazy over here as well, so I'm not sure how many we'll actually get. One split open after, I guess, a bunch of rain as well. Oh, see, I just saw a beetle. Where'd it go? Unfortunately, they're kind of everywhere, but there's little cantaloupes there. I'll take you around to the other side now. It's kind of the same, just overgrown mess over here. The habaneros are growing. There was a really big one I had seen. Where is it? Oh, like here. It's quite large. So they will continue to grow and then get orange, but they're nice and big this year, and there's quite a few growing through here. And then more jalapenos. And I discovered that some of our plants did get mixed up, so these ones might be green pepper. I know there's a green pepper over there, and there's a jalapeno outside where I planted the peppers. So some of them definitely got mixed up. But again, we're getting nice jalapenos. Just eating them and freezing some. Over here we have the watermelons, and there are just a couple small ones I've seen. Again, fighting with cucumber beetles over here. And considering it's the middle of August and that's how big it is, I think that was the biggest one. Oh, here's the biggest one. I'm not sure if we're going to get anything. But the plants themselves have done well. And actually, this is cantaloupe. You can see one growing there. It has come through, and they've been climbing up the tomato plants. The tomato plants that I did in these pots have not done as well as the other tomato plants. But I mean, they each have some on them. There's a few smaller ones as well, but they definitely like being in the greenhouse, number one. That's their favorite. And then being in the beds. So these are all tomatoes as well. You can see they're producing so much more basil plant. You can see them turning here. Beautiful red color. More basil. And more tomatoes and basil. My marigolds have done fantastic as well. All the marigolds in my garden were started from seed. They've all bushed out and done really, really well. On this first trellis here we have the cucumber pickles. I have been picking them, you know, kind of as they're coming. They are really struggling right now thanks to the cucumber beetle. They're starting to kind of die off. I think I just saw one fall. They're suffering. But I have been able to put away a number of jars of pickles for our family, both fridge pickles and shelf-stable ones, and so that's definitely a blessing. There's still some growing. Hopefully all the ones that are here will continue to grow, and I can do another batch or more of canning. This is our kale. We did not get a single leaf of kale this year. It just got eaten all by cabbage moth caterpillars. Every single leaf. So I'm definitely going to have to go back to covering it with netting next year. This is more tomatoes, more basil. I definitely see a big difference in the basil that I started inside versus the one I started by seed in the ground. I mean, they're growing, but I think I better just start them all ahead of time next year. Again, one that got started inside, which something looks like it's been gnawing on that, versus from seed. Instead of just having so many plants, I'll just do fewer, but start them inside. Again, more tomatoes, which they're doing well. Delicious Roma tomatoes. I planted all the same kind of tomatoes this year. And then the basil and the marigolds. In the next bed here, the carrots are doing really well. And we are getting quite a few peppers, but it's quite uneven. Like, you know, there's one on here versus this plant's got 4 on it right now. So I'm not really sure what the difference is. And this one kind of look weird on the top there. I'm not sure what the difference is. You can see the difference in like height as well. But we have gotten a few. We've eaten a few peppers. And the carrots are all doing well. Probably need to come and thin them out again. And over here, you can see the butternut squash has made its way out from the corn. The corn is so short. It's probably, well, this one over here is the tallest. And I'd say it's about 5.5 feet. So they're not very tall, but hopefully we'll get some corn still. I have not seen any butternut squash yet, but the vines look good. Over here we have our pole beans, which is one of the things we've been harvesting this past week. We're getting lots of beans on it, which is nice, and really long, and some of them thick too. So we've been enjoying those. On this side, this variety of pole bean has grown so tall, but it is just starting to produce now. I've only picked a couple beans off of it, which in reality it's kind of nice. We had our bush beans first, and then the other side, and then now these ones. But yeah, very slowly, just a few here and there. But if you notice, this butternut squash on this side made its way through the trellis and is now climbing up as well, which I think is kind of funny. Yeah, you can see a few beans just starting. This corn, about the same thing. It kind of has like one really tall one. The rest are a lot shorter. The squash plant is in there. But no butternut squash yet, so we shall see what happens. Over here, more peppers, carrots, and this one here is the one that got mixed up. This is a jalapeno. I don't know if there's even any on here. We've harvested a couple. And I think these are all peppers. I did have to throw one pepper away. It had a worm in it, which was really sad. These carrots look a little slower to grow, but they're getting there. This is cilantro, and I had potatoes on both sides. I dug a few up a few weeks ago, and then I just harvested the rest this week, and it was actually pretty disappointing. There wasn't a lot in there. I'm not sure if it's the variety, or maybe they just died earlier. I'm not sure. I have 2 other types of potatoes in the garden, so we'll see how they end up doing. This one, the carrots are doing really well. Maybe we'll actually pull one out and have a look here and see, because I say that, at least the tops are doing well. Oh, not too bad. Peppers are growing. The peas are starting to die. We have been enjoying them, but they are now going. If I come over here, this is where we had the rest of our kale. I ended up pulling it out because it was just totally being eaten, and ever since pulling it out, still they just ate it there. The peas, I definitely planted this variety too thick on this side, and we actually prefer this variety that's over here. These are just a little bit different in their design. You can see there. Versus, let's see, like this. So I don't think we'll grow these next year. We'll just do these ones here. The lettuce, I've struggled with lettuce so much this year. I also have lettuce there. There was some under there. They just have not done well, especially this one here. And we have, again, carrots and peppers over here. Not sure if there's any peppers growing here right now. I don't think I've seen any. So hopefully they will produce soon, but the carrots look like they're doing okay. Over here is another bed of potatoes that I have. They're starting to die back. I've had issues with flea beetles this year. And tortoise beetles, which this looks like tortoise beetles. So we'll see if I can see the flea beetle in there. And then I have cilantro that it was very small to grow, and then it bolted in the heat. So we really haven't gotten much cilantro, which is kind of a bummer this year for sure. Our next bed here, there are a few red onions left, but again, like I said, I'm having trouble growing them. They're all quite small, but I think they're just too deep. And then I recently planted spinach, as it looked like the weather was cooling down, but then it warmed up again. So we'll see if this one goes directly to seed or if it allows us to eat any, because we did not get any of the first batch between heat and flea beetles. This is our zucchini bed with dill, and the dill is just starting to get some like seed heads on it. It's quite delicious. I have struggled with growing zucchini for years. I don't know why everyone jokes about having so many, but I don't. We've had 3 so far, and that's it. So I'm hoping there'll be some more. You can see the seed heads on the dill in here. I also have to make sure that I time the dill and the pickles next year, because I had my first big batches of pickles ready to do and no dill. I had to buy some. Looks like there's some growing zucchini, so hopefully we'll get some more. And then this plant, and now this one, I think the cucumber beetles have just destroyed them, unfortunately. This bed here, we had onions in that just did not do well. They kind of all rotted or just didn't do well. So now we have a mix of beets and Swiss chard growing. I'm hoping again the weather cools down a little bit and we get a fall crop of these. Alright, so moving into our little extension that we did. These are some onions that I had started from seed. So they are slowly growing. Beets has been a really rough year this year. Like, really rough. These are very, very slow growing. I'm hoping we can harvest at least some before winter. The bush beans have done fantastic. Again, just great yield. And we have carrots in between them that are doing really well too. They seem to like the combo together. I don't know if there's any beans on here right now. I picked some yesterday, but we've gotten quite a bit from it. And they're still flowering, so there's still some growing, which is great. This has been one thing that we have successfully grown 2 years in a row, so bush beans are definitely a plus for us. These are the original beets that I planted, I want to say in May. We've picked 3 of them and they were like tiny. And then I've reseeded, and again, they're just not doing well. So we'll see what happens. The celery is growing slowly. We have had some issues with caterpillars on them. They've been eating them, but you know, I'm hoping at least 1 or 2 bunches will grow enough to actually harvest them. This is another bed of a different type of potato. And you can see the cilantro, like how small and thin it is, and then it's gone to seed already, unfortunately. These potato plants are quite small, and I think only a few of them flowered. So maybe they'll be a later crop for us. So in this bed, it was a bit of an experiment growing cucumbers vertically. There's a few of the pickling cucumbers I had extra in here, and the rest are supposed to be like an English style. We've had a few, but not very many. Definitely not like last year where we had quite a lot. And they haven't really got the memo, a lot of these plants, to grow up the sticks. Some beautiful tomatoes in here though. So I don't think I would ever grow cucumbers like this again. I'd either just do it along the ground, or I would use our arch and let them grow up there. But there are some growing. And then over here has been a challenge as well. So some of the lettuce that you see here was planted way back in May. And it just took forever for it to grow. Like, it's so small. So I did replant maybe a couple weeks ago, a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. It's just starting to come up. Again, hoping to get some lettuce later in the year. And the carrots were the first ones I planted, yet they're pretty small. And keeping in mind they were the first ones that I planted in our garden. This one here has more onions that I had started from seed. Again, they're just so small, not really growing. And then I have some pak choy or like bok choy in the middle here. We didn't get any from our first batch, so I'm hoping I will on this batch. Moving over to cabbage and to celery. Having it covered has definitely been a must for us. It's the only way to keep the moths away. We've eaten one small cabbage. I'm hoping these will grow quite a bit bigger. And it looks like almost none of the red or purple cabbage have actually started to form heads, which is unusual. Celery's doing okay in here. Again, hoping we make it to the point where we can get some for the year. This corn has not done well at all. It just did not germinate very well. It's so short. I just don't know what's going on with it. The squash plants around it are doing well. I did see one little baby butternut. It's the only one I've seen on all of my plants. So I'm hoping it's gonna grow because it hasn't grown much. And then I just filled in some areas here that weren't being used with cilantro. Again, trying to get us some cilantro, hoping the weather will let them grow before they go to seed. Of course, there's all the beautiful flowers around as well. One of my favorite parts. And they kind of come and go. You know, something grows and then it goes away and something else will take its place. That's a beautiful one. So delicate looking. We've got all kinds of different colors of bachelor buttons. The poppies are pretty much done. There's just a few left over there. The nasturtiums have done quite well. We've gotten all kinds of different colored ones. And of course the marigolds, I have different colors as well. These ones are all falling over. They're so many and so heavy. That beautiful nasturtium. Isn't that gorgeous? And these yellow and red marigolds. Of course, cosmos. So many different types of cosmos. I love how they all have kind of different colors and varieties to them. We have these coneflowers or echinacea. Aren't they beautiful? I need to figure out how to preserve these so we can make some tea with them. Thanks for coming along for a walk in my garden. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comment section down below. Also, if you garden, let me know, what are you struggling with this year? Let me know what your challenges are. Otherwise, I hope this finds you having a great day. Take care.